Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Blaster Breakdown. Today, the Mega Motostryke. This is a mag-fed, flywheel-powered Mega Blaster, a bit like a big Stryfe. Like a Stryfe, I've upgraded this with a new flywheel cage, wheels and motors, rewired for a 2S LiPo, and added a few quality of life changes such as an extended mag release and a new rev trigger. This one now has Neo Rhinos running on a 3S LiPo. Many groups have special rules for mega darts and other special ammo in their game types, such as shield busting, automatic kills and so on. So I was interested to see if I could make this one a bit more useful on the battlefield. Before we start though, why don't you hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's have a look inside. Okay, here we are. So I've got this cage designed by Panda and printed by my buddy Bruce. So this is designed to take standard 130 size motors. I've got some Neo badges, standard size flywheels. So these are worker black grooved wheels. So they'll go in just like any other flywheel mod. The wiring, of course, is going to be the same as any Stryfe. I'm going to use a MOSFET. So I keep the rev trigger switch as it is. The other electronic and mechanical locks I'll remove as you would with any Stryfe build. So I'm going to go ahead and just crack this one open. Okay, so as you expect, the inside is like a big Stryfe, which is cool. Get these out. Like that. All right, so we got a supersized flywheel cage, maybe like that. Yeah, that's the intake. That barrel fit on to there. Bypass this switch, remove this switch and this lock. Wiring we'll obviously remove, and this will be wired to a LiPo. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some snipping. There's nothing holding those in at all. Oh, don't tell me. Nope, that's just pressed in. So this red wire I can use for the MOSFET. I haven't worked out where I'll place it yet, but that's going to come from the positive from the battery, and that'll be the signal to the left-hand pin on the MOSFET. So I'll just leave that wire as it is for now. It's cool, it doesn't do anything. A free spring. Same up here, that's all going away. I was just thinking these screws are pretty shallow for a flywheel cage fixing, so they've obviously used these little clips to supplement stability. But anyway, that'll go in the bin. Okay, so a bit of an update before we really get started. I have had a slight change of plans. You have probably noticed that this flywheel cage is no longer white. When I attached the motor screws, I managed to crack that one, so I had another printed. I've also decided to use Neo Rhino motors after all, so this will use a 3S LiPo. I've got a few versions actually of the extended mag release. This is the longest, so I'll try that. And replacement rev trigger, that'd be a little bit nicer to use. We'll see how that goes as well. Otherwise, the plan is standard flywheel rewire, grind out the battery tray, make room for a LiPo. Well, it won't need much because it's already quite big for C-size batteries. We'll get rid of all the metal out of this. We'll be using a MOSFET connected to the stock switch, and then high gauge wiring through to where the motors will sit up the front here. So, not too complicated. I'll go and put the flywheel cage motor and wheels together, and then we'll begin wiring it up and see what it looks like. Okay, so I finished wiring this up now. I've got my motors in place. Darts going in that way. I've got a diode in place here, so that prevents any back current going the wrong way around as the motors are spinning down, and that's to protect the MOSFET. So here's my MOSFET. Got a resistor across the two outer legs. The left-hand one is enabled by the rev trigger, so this switch here. Center leg comes from the negative of the motors, and the right hand will go to the battery negative terminal. The red wire is our positive, so that comes from the battery positive terminal, and here we've got the rev trigger spliced in. So a quick recap. The MOSFET, this is an N channel or negative channel MOSFET, is in the non-conducting state under normal circumstances, so there's no connection between the negative lead from the motors to the battery. When a current is applied across the left-hand prong, when we pull the trigger, then it flips states and becomes a conductor, and that completes the circuit and will rev the motors. Okay, so I'm ready to put this together now. As you can see, the flywheel cage is fixed in place. We've got the original 4 screw posts holding it in. You can see how the barrel sits in between these bits at the front, like so. Got a flared opening for the darts feeding in. So the wiring through here, I've just got a dab of glue at a few points, so that's not going to jump up and go anywhere. And around the back here, you can see that the pusher moves nice and smoothly. Magazine release is in place. You can see with the replacement rev trigger, I've kept the original physical locked, so you can't pull the trigger if the flywheels aren't revving, but once that's going. Okay, so wiring back to the MOSFET here, which I've wrapped up in some heat shrink. Last thing I haven't done is attach the XT60 connector. Okay, so this should just slot back in one big piece. That's pretty good. Make sure all the triggers work nicely. That's good. Now, of course, holding this together, I've got X or socket cap screws. So these are M2.6 8mm, which is the length of the original Phillips head screws that come with this. Big blaster, but it takes little screws. Some of these holes are quite deep, so I can't use my little screwdriver. I need to use a lengthened Allen key. Actually, you don't need to watch me do this. We'll just fast forward to when this is all put together, and I'll show you the battery tray on the other side. Okay, so that's gone together nicely. As you can see, the triggers moving nicely. That's good. It's good. It's got a little knob there that locks into place. So that's good. Here's the battery tray. So pretty rough job smoothing that out, but it'll fit a good size LiPo in really nicely. So I'm yet to put the XT60 on, but we can just demonstrate it works. Of course, I tested this beforehand with alkaline batteries. Don't do your testing with LiPos. But okay, so I've got an official Stryfe Mega. I've got a Fake and a regular, usual, standard Mega. So let's see how we go. Okay, that seems to be operating nicely. I'll go ahead and wire this up for an XT60. Then we'll take it outside and get some numbers over the chronograph. Okay, so here we go, testing the upgraded Mega Motostryke. So this has Panda's 3D printed cage, Worker black power wheels, Neo Rhinos. I've got both 3S and 4S LiPos that I'll test it with, 3S first, 4S second. And I'll put 5 regular and 5 Fake Megas over the chrony at each voltage and see how we go. So 3S first. And whirlies next. Okay, so on 3S that looked like about 100 for regular Megas, a bit lower, 90 or so for the whirlies. And let's see how we go on 4S. Okay, so it didn't look like increasing the voltage resulted in improved FPS. 100 FPS on 3S is still pretty good for Megas. So the next thing we'll do is see how it goes for accuracy at maybe 30 and then 50 feet. Okay, here we are, 30 feet from the target, 10 regular Mega darts. Again, this is running on a 3S LiPo. Let's see how we go. So, like regular size Elites, these Megas do have a life of their own. I did manage to hit the target sort of most shots, a few veered left and right. Let's see how we go back at 50 feet. This might be interesting. Again, 10 regular Mega darts. Let's see how we go. Bullseye! My second shot was a dead set bullseye. Half of the others flew over the top or wide to the left. I did hit the target with a few. I mean, it's not a sniper, that's for sure. If your game types have special rules for different ammo, such as Megas, then maybe getting within 50 to 30 feet of a target, like a shield to bust, that's a viable strategy and a useful weapon on the field. Let's wrap it up. So there you have it. That's the Mega Motostryke. Out of the box, this was hitting 50 FPS. It's now hitting double that at about 100 FPS with regular Mega darts. Thanks again to Panda for the design and Dan Tan for printing the pieces for me. Please leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.